Welcome back to the show. We got a great one lined up. BRICS, Russia pushing back on U.S. moving to a new digital system. Oh, we got that and so much more. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show. You can follow us on X, YouTube, and DigPerspectives.com for exclusive content. Look at this. We're back over 4 trillion, ladies and gentlemen. All we needed was Congress to come back into session, right? Now we need those interest rate cuts to set all the markets into motion. And then we get the legislation passed, the ETF approvals, the Ripple charter license, bank license, and the Fed master account, and everything will be groovy around here. Right now, $4.01 trillion market cap for crypto. The market's up 1.1, 112,600 plus for Bitcoin, 4,300 plus for Ethereum. XRP's $3.01. We're back, baby. 2.1% up on the 24. We're up 7.3 on the 7-day. Take a look at the range, ranging between 294 and 303. So we're at the top side of this. We'll keep an eye on it. Just like we want to keep an eye on this. A wave of attacks, ladies and gentlemen. Be very, very careful. A massive attack on JavaScript ecosystem is currently underway. And since JavaScript is at the heart of what we use every day to browse the internet, you must be extra vigilant. Let's take a look at a possible solution for the XRP ecosystem. It says here, although the entire JavaScript ecosystem is at risk, the malware appears to be targeting only a few blockchain ecosystems based on the addresses it used to steal funds, highlighting Bitcoin Network, ETH, Solana, Tron, Litecoin, and Bitcoin Cash. Now, with that being said, the attacker strategically published malicious patch versions for some of the most fundamental utilities in JavaScript, which we don't know. I don't know, but you get it. Krippenreiter knows exactly what's going on here. And at the end of the day, we got to be very careful. This is so scary. You know, it's so scary that these networks are being targeted, whether I hold the asset or not. I don't want to see anyone lose their funds. I don't care who it is. You know, the idea that you work so hard to build a portfolio and then to be at risk of losing it and being hacked or a cyber attacked or something is just, it's absolute nightmare. But I tell you what, you can start to remove some of that worry and concern if you've ever been hacked, because you could use Caleb and Brown. And you guys know my foundational principle is I never keep all my assets in one place. And the places you hear me talk about keeping my assets is a place I feel very safe. And that comes first and foremost for me. Number one, you get institutional grade custody. Number two, there's multiple layers of security. And when you go to do transactions, they verify you. And then you can also put special restrictions on your account with your personal prime broker or representative that you're talking to. This is a very, very special aspect in service that you don't find anywhere else in the crypto space. It's just a fact. Right? So the reality is if you're looking for that personal touch service like I am, this is a real source of peace and security, because I know I'm getting that there. And I know I can actually reach out to a human being that knows me, has built relationship with me. They understand my habits. They understand what I'm after. They know the level of security I'm looking for. And I tell you, you never have to worry about having any trouble losing your assets ever again. And I'm telling you, until you experience this personal touch service, you're really not going to understand just how incredible it is. But you can. If you just go to xrpwealth589.com, you'll start getting the best night's sleep of your life like I am. Look right here. It's Eric Trump. Modern financial system is changing and crypto is rewriting the rules very quick. But let's start here.
The modern financial system is changing every single day, and crypto is rewriting the rules.
It absolutely is. And to go along with that, we know we're supposed to get the legislation passed for the Clarity Act by Thanksgiving at the latest.
A market structure bill. It's called the Clarity Act.
Right.
We in the Senate are going to mark up in the Senate Banking Committee a market structure bill in September. The Ag Committee will do theirs in October because they've got the commodities jurisdiction. The Senate Banking Committee has the securities jurisdiction. Then we'll fold them together with clarity and hopefully get this across the finish line by Thanksgiving or at the latest Christmas.
There you have it. It's coming. And I tell you, like I said, it's the Genius Act is useless without the market infrastructure bill and vice versa. So let's get that done. And we know that there's going to be a grand economic reordering.
We are going to have some kind of a grand global economic reordering.
And there you go. That's the U.S. Treasury Secretary. And lo and behold, Russia is now voicing and saying the quiet part out loud. They're like, the U.S. has 35 trillion in currency debt, and they'll move it into the crypto cloud, devalue it, and start from scratch. Isn't this what we talk about here on the channel? Of course it is. Take a listen to this. I'll read it. The U.S. is now trying to rewire the rules of the gold and cryptocurrency markets. Remember, the size of their debt is 35 trillion. These two sectors, crypto and gold, are essentially alternatives to the traditional global currency system. Washington's action in this area clearly highlight one of its main goals: to urgently address the declining trust in the U.S. dollar. As in the 1930s and the 1970s, the U.S. plans to solve its financial problems as the world's expense. This time by pushing everyone into the crypto cloud. Over time, one part of the U.S. national debt is placed into stable coins. Washington will devalue that debt. This is exactly what we talked about. Put simply, they have 35 trillion in currency debt. They'll move it into a crypto cloud, devalue it, and start from scratch. This is exactly what we've talked about on this channel ad nauseum for some. That's the reality for those who are so enthusiastic about crypto. That's exactly right, and that's why I'm here. You guys know it's exactly why I'm here. I'm here for the bigger picture. You know, the one that so many said that we were stupid for talking about. Yeah, that picture. The one that Russia's now talking about. Russia just confessed that Bitcoin was a 3-letter agency asset by the CIA, they say. The story of Bitcoin isn't what you think it is. It was never for freedom money. It was always a government Trojan horse, which is exactly what I've been saying to all of you for years now. And what did Trump say?
Maybe we'll pay off the $35 trillion in crypto. I'll write out a little piece of paper, 35 trillion crypto. We have no debt, right? That's what I like, right?
Yeah, there you have it. That's the goal, right? And how do you do all of this? You don't do it by simply just pushing the price up and then selling 35 trillion to pay off a debt, because you'll crash the market, right? It's not doable. And how much Bitcoin do we have, right?
How much Bitcoin does the federal government have?
I can't discuss that right now.
Come on, give us a ballpark.
I can't.
Is it going to be made public?
There are several reasons in which we're not disclosing that at this time. There might be a time in which we do. But what I will say is, we want as much as we can possibly get. And that.
There you go. And he's not there anymore. The former executive director of digital assets. He's now at Tether. Now, what's interesting to me is that they won't release the number, how much Bitcoin they hold, because they don't want a country knowing that actual number and then like thinking, okay, well, we just need to do this to get past their position, right? So I get why they're not revealing it. But what's interesting to me is we remember who's replacing Bo Hines. Patrick Witt, the executive director and president council of advisors for digital assets, acting director, former Department of Defense Office of Strategic Capital. This guy is going to be putting in the market infrastructure part of this equation, ladies and gentlemen. He's going to be overseeing that. And what else do we see putting pressure on everything? China has released an action plan to promote the use of the yuan and its own payment system in international trade. So now, out of the BRICS countries, right, Russia and China, the two largest players, are saying, hey, US, we got your little plan figured out. And China's saying, not only do we have it figured out, we got our own new system going, and we got the yuan out here as well. Hello, New Bretton Woods, and welcome to the XRP ledger. We are moving to a multipolar world. China's released its action plan to promote the use of its yuan through its own payment system. And the only way that this works to make sure that some bad actor around the world doesn't gain control over the monetary system is to use a bridge asset to isolate China's yuan to China and any other country that decides to white label it. Now you have your own region, and there's a bridge asset that sits between you and your bad intentions of control and surveilling people. Because the bridge asset sits between your bad ideas and our good principles and way of life, right? It's going to take a bridge asset to isolate all of that. That's where XRP comes in and the decentralized exchange. That's why I think you'll see white labeled versions of the private ledger start popping up all over the world. That's where we're going. A grand economic reordering, right? And Congress, in the meantime, introduces the bill requiring the Treasury to study establishing the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve and U.S. digital asset stockpile. And who's studying it? The Treasury is studying it. That's who. The Treasury. Yeah. Isn't that interesting? And all cryptos in U.S. stockpile will be disclosed, and they will be held for at least 20 years. How about that? Now, let's add to that. It's getting closer to the new reality, ladies and gentlemen. That strategic reserve and that digital asset stockpile are going to be incredibly powerful to the U.S. government in this new system we're moving to. Creating the digital asset stockpile allows them to acquire the asset. How will they acquire it? I'm getting ready to show you. But then they can hold the reserves just like they do oil. And if the price gets going too high too quickly, they can release reserves to bring the price down and keep it from being too volatile. This allows the asset to remain in an open, free market while having these price mechanism controls to control the macro price on a global stage. That's what we're talking about here. And when you think about the XRP escrow that's already out, they release a certain amount every month, just like OPEC pumps a certain amount of oil every month. And with the reserves, if the price gets too crazy, they can dump reserves and get the price back down so it doesn't harm the economy. Same approach for XRP, I believe. And this is how they acquire the assets right here.
We actually may get something, and
they're floating a lot of ideas, Chris, about how to acquire some of these digital assets. Are you hearing anything about the different suggestions on that? And there's obviously, I've talked about this. I know other people have floated the idea. Is it out of the realm of possibility to consider that there would be a new bond issuance of digital assets in the future? Not next Tuesday, but in the future.
Oh, I think it's more than a possibility. Yeah. I think you're going to see it at multiple levels. I think you're going to see it at the corporate level. I think you'll see it at municipal levels. And I think ultimately you'll see it at the national level.
And there you go. He goes on to say, and they've been doing this since the dawn of time, keeping reserves of commodities in store, right? That's how we get here. And it's the Treasury that's studying the establishment of these reserves and stockpiles. And it's the Treasury that will release the bond issuance to do a revenue share with its citizens so it can acquire the bonds or acquire the digital assets by selling the bonds to the people. Every time they sell a bond, they acquire more XRP in the reserve. It doesn't cost the taxpayer a nickel. In fact, it revenue shares with the taxpayer. You offer them 3 or 4% on the bond, and now they're happy. How do you know that the bond will go up so you can pay out? Because they're going to use it for payments every day. And the government gets the assets. And of course, wrap all of this up, we get legislation Overnight, you're going to see the Apples, the Facebooks, the Googles, and the Microsoft release crypto wallets on your phone just like that. 3 billion people are in the crypto game. Again, Russia just confessed that Bitcoin was a CIA asset. We've known that for a long time. I say NSA, but who's arguing? It's a three-letter agency. And if we see Bitcoin put in a U.S. government reserve, it's absolutely 1,000% confirmation for me, because President Trump loves his country and this administration loves his country, and they would never put us susceptible to having an asset on our books if we didn't know who created it. And that's why I believe Russia's got it right. Looking at this right here, XRP still within the undervalued red zone. The dark green zone is a $4 to $45 window, and the light green is a $45 window to $250 window. I love this chart because, not because it shows high price, but I love this chart because he's very openly showing you, here's your ranges. We have no idea how hard or light this thing is going to go, because there's so much in front of us that could send this thing parabolic. Who could really know, right? And the reality is once utility becomes the price driver in this market, my goodness, watch out. Listen, it's going to do it for me. Not financial advice from me or anyone else. Things are heating up and we are closing in. We are 12 weeks away from supposedly getting this Clarity Act passed and then signed into law by Thanksgiving. 12 weeks. This entire market could look completely different. And who knows what band we will be in when it does. We're going into the freedom zone. Again, not financial advice from me or anyone else. You're going to want to join us, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, we're going to talk about some things here. Oh my goodness, you're going to want to be with us. It is going to be straight fire. You can join us by clicking the link underneath any video and come on in.